Wizardry 4 was such a piece of shit that everyone hated that they don't even pretend, they don't even acknowledge it. They want to, people just pretend it doesn't exist, and the only people who are into it are like people who admit that it's a fucked up game for crazy people. But reading about it, it's a very interesting sounding game. So Wizardry 4 was a break from the formula. It has a really cool concept. Okay, so here's the idea. At the end of Wizardry 1, so the whole game is about killing a wizard. You defeat an evil wizard at the end. Wizardry 4, you play as the wizard. And instead of going down into the dungeon to fight, the final boss, you start at the bottom of the dungeon where you've been, imprisoned. And you have to work your way back up to the surface. It's like his revenge story. And he is very weak himself. But the idea is that I don't think you really do too much. You're not very capable on your own, but you summon minions that are like different creatures. Essentially, you're summoning dungeon mobs to fight for you as your party, which is like a really cool idea. Unfortunately, everything I've read about this game is like the most asshole-ish thing ever. So here's how the first room of Wizardry 4 is. Because apparently, most people don't make it out of the first room. You're like, how is that possible? What is so messed up about the first room of the game? So you start, and there's no doors. It's just walls. There is seemingly no way out. And sometimes, but just because of the rules of the game, sometimes you just get into random encounters. Oh, and all the enemies you fight are adventuring parties. They're all like adventuring player parties. You're not fighting monsters. You're controlling the monsters. and fighting the adventurer parties that have ventured down into the dungeon to kill you again. So, and apparently they are just fucked up. They are almost modded ridiculous power level fighters that attack. I read the fighters attack 16 times in a row because their stats are so cracked out, and everyone has health that they have health that breaks the overflow of counter of the game. They have just so fucking mean. And also you don't actually gain experience and levels. You only increase in power if you get to specific points on each floor of the dungeon. That's the only thing. So doing battles doesn't even help you. It doesn't actually progress you unless maybe there's some kind of specific item you have to get or something like that. But in terms of stats and experience and progression, it doesn't. It's just there to hurt you. So how do you get out of the first room of Wizardry 4? Well, you have to know that there is a secret door. Okay, how do I find the secret door? You have to reveal it. How do you reveal it? You need to cast the spell Mawali or something. However, you cannot cast the spell yourself. You have to, the main character cannot cast that spell. What you have to do is run around until you get into a random encounter. You have to summon a group of priests for yourself, and priests are the only guys who can use the light spell. However, you cannot directly control your party besides the wizard. So you just have to hope that they randomly cast it, and then assuming you survive the battle, the light spell will have been cast and the door will be revealed when you get out of the battle. Just absolutely fucking awful. Just like a nightmare. It's like the legacy of the druids of CRPGs, just for fucking crazy people, but kind of charming from what I can gather. Genuinely, even people who are really into, okay, some of the worst types of guys, and no one talks about them because they just hang out in their own corners, are CRPG boomers. They're one of the worst groups that you can ever read. I was just trying to get some info and do some research, and I looked at I look at some CRPG forums that are still going, and relatively recent threads. And I'm just looking, and just everyone, it just devolves. It's literally reading, it's like a 4chan spinoff. Everyone just starts calling people slurs. Everyone is just, it's just so fucking annoying sounding. And all of these people are 40 plus. It's just, and everyone gets so elitist. It's like it might be the worst community in terms of elitism. Is you don't want to deal with that? You must be a casual. I guess it's not made for you. Uh, just like the most annoying. And even they will be like, yeah, 4 is like, you don't, I mean, it's interesting. It's like the nicest thing they can say about it. A lot of like CRPG boomers I found are just people who are like really proud of the fact that they hit the slot machine over and over again until they got a jackpot. Because that's how a lot of old CRPGs play, in my opinion. Ooh, am I being a hater? Am I being a stupid, ignorant Zoomer? I guess maybe I am. I'm sorry that I like to play my games and not play against my games.